Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown featuring the legendary Sergeant Spaghetti up against Empire Practice as the Greenskins do come to the Desert Bounty in hunt of that Empire booty. Should be a pretty fun game all round. At the end of this video as well, guys, I'm going to have a little announcement of a stream that's going to be coming up and how you can influence that, so make sure to stick around for that little announcement at the end. But anyway, let's hop into this battle and have a quick little look at the builds. So it looks like on the flanks we do have some Goblin Wolf Riders dotted on either side. These guys pretty good, cheap and cheerful light skirmish cav, here to push back pistoliers and the like, and also whip in behind the enemy to shut down gun lines and so forth. We have Orc Boys in the front line who are always happy for a scrap. They're not terrible stats all round, but they are incredibly cheap and a very low tier infantry, but at the same time they'll be able to scrap out with state troops rather effectively, and it allows the Greenskins to go rather wide in this pretty expanding out kind of box build. In the secondary battle line, we do have some Savage Orc Arrow Boys, mixing with the Rusty Arrows as well. An old school combination, as the Rusty Arrows, of course, do their armor sundering, which will allow the Savage Orc Arrow Boys to punch way above their normal pay grade. We also have some Night Goblin Fanatics used in the secondary battle line, and I'm a massive fan of this play here. You put your Fanatics in the secondary battle line, push them forward, and ensures they get all their value from their spinning loons, as you can put it down the line of that main battle formation. Looks like we have two heroes in the front line, or a hero and a lord. Goblin Big Boss on his mighty wolf, and the wolf looks so badass always. And wolf is pretty actually small though. It's kind of like a great wolf, but it's actually kind of tiny. A little goblin sitting on top. But he comes with They Need Stabbing, a fantastic hex you can pop on lords and heroes. And we have Skarsnik as well, coming of course with his nice abilities of Fermented Fungi to rampage the opponent and give them negative melee defense. A very powerful hex indeed. And Spite of the Bad Moon as well for that lovely area bonus versus large. The real punch of this build, though, is coming in the form of two Doom Diver catapults stacked right next to each other here. And they're going to be flinging at them very brave or very stupid goblins, depends how you think about it, into battle, and they do track relatively well, quite good at taking down enemy cavalry and the like. And they're going to be protected by some nasty skulkers, and then a back line of Orc Biggins as well, who do have a pretty decent bonus versus large to help protect the back line up against knights and so forth. Now, for the forces of the Empire in the front lines, we have some incredibly cheap and cheerful spearmen dotted along, just going to be there to hold the line and allow the rest of the build to do the damage. So that's certainly going to be the anvil, and the hammer is coming in the form of a ton of Empire Knights. We have a couple out on this left-hand flank. On the right-hand side, we have a Reichsguard as well. Looks like they're chevroned up quite heavily. And they're going to be rolling dirty with a Warrior Priest, coming in with a Scroll of Shielding, as well as the Shield of Faith and Soulfire. And he's going to be rolling with a Bright Wizard, Burning Head, Flaming Sword of Ruin, and a Fireball. So two pretty powerful contingents there. In the very back, we do have double pistoliers going to be looking to push forward. And in the centre pocket, we have Free Company Militia, a really underrated unit you don't get to see terribly often. They do pretty decent damage with those little pistols, and then when it comes to the nice close quarters, they can whip out their cutlasses and certainly get down and dirty. We have Volkmar the Grim on his mighty chariot with his even more mighty moustache. He's coming with Grand Soulfire, Grand Shield of Faith, and Grand Hammer of Sigma, so all of the buffs, with Banishment and Jade Griffin. And he's a fantastic pick up against the Greenskins, as he can really break down and terrify their front lines super quickly. So it looks like for the most part, Doom Divers are hunting down Free Company Militia, but I'm assuming once he realises they're not handgunners, he's going to be switching to target the Empire Knights where possible, as they're going to be a big threat to this Greenskin force. Looks like we have a Orc Shaman, who I think I may have missed earlier as well, coming with Brainbuster, Foot of Gork, and is that, here we go, let's have a little look. There we go, here we go, should have trusted my judgment there, which is a nice little toolkit indeed. So Doom Divers are now starting to switch to the Empire Knights, and you can see these tracking goblins do so much damage, even to heavily armoured knights, and these are just little goblins being flung with some wings on them, but they're pretty damn accurate, as of course they can correct their course in the air, doing some pretty big damage to the Empire Knights, despite the fact they are trying to juke back and forth where possible, as the rest of the Empire force does push forward. Pistoliers need to get active as well, start harassing the back lines, and I think this whole left contingent needs to really be putting pressure on it a little bit earlier, wrapping around to the left-hand side, but perhaps they're just waiting for the frontline distraction to really kick off here. And Volkmar is going to be the ultimate distraction. He should be able to run over these Orc Boys very quickly and push into that back line. Doesn't want the Rusty Arrows sitting on him for too long, however. injured Empire Knights are starting to consider coming in for a big charge in the front line before kind of bouncing to and forth, trying to decide which way to go, as Savage Orc Arab boys do unleash some volleys into those Empire Knights, doing some pretty decent damage, but at the same time, nice shock damage coming in on the Orc boys, as the front line engagement is getting underway here. We can see Orc boys taking the charge from the Spearmen, but they won't mind too much. Volkmar, on the other hand, is just going to simply push and walk through and make a big old gap for the Spearmen to charge through. But it looks like we have a big cavalry charge is coming down this left-hand side, a big flank overload, which is a good idea by the Empire player, as he needs to shut down those Doom Diver catapults. Looks like he dropped a banishment on them, but that's not going to be enough to finish them off, and all the Orcs are putting their bodies on the line here in a desperate attempt to protect them, as they've done pretty decent work so far. 24 and 22 kills on Empire Knights is certainly no joke. Some of the Arab boys have now started to be surrounded and pushed back, but Orc Biggins are here in response as well. Looks like some Empire Knights did manage to sneak all the way up and around, coming in for vengeance, as this is one of the units which did get pounded down early on by the Doom Divers. Going to get a nice charge into the catapults. However, Nasty Skulkers are skulking around and lurking, and if they can indeed pop their smoke bomb and pin in these Knights, the Knights will certainly be done for. And it looks like a well-timed war has gone off as well. Over on this overloaded flank, looks like the Pistoliers are firing quite freely now, with some more Reichsguard pushing down the line and a fat burning head coming through. Not roasting too many troops have, and it looks like the Warrior Priest and some of the Reichsguard have been bogged down by a ton of Biggins, and with Spite of the Bad Moon plus the War Active, they are butchering these Knights, dragging them from their mighty steeds and squishing them into the sand here, buried to never be found once more. The War Priest is trying his best though, dropping all his buffs where possible, and good pressure coming from the Empire as more and more Knights continuously pour into the back line. You can see though the Savage Orc Arab boys are still effectively active on this left hand side, as well as the Rusty Arrows, although it looks like the Doom Divers are being pretty heavily compromised at this point, as Nasty Skulker bodyguards are being put to the sword. In the front line, Spearmen, of course, do indeed struggle up against Orc boys. Looks like Free Company Militia have been pushed back as well. Although wherever Volkmar goes, the Empire can fare a little bit better. Only up to 30 kills. Needs to be engaging in the thick of it as much as possible, really, to help win the front line, or the Knights deal with the back line pressure and pull as many Greenskin resources as possible away from the front line engagement. War Priest really starting to struggle here. He is up against the Goblin Big Boss and was surrounded by Biggins, but looks like they've left the Big Boss to take him on one-on-one. And yeah, you'd expect a wolf to be able to kill a horse relatively comfortably. Bright Wizard has been hit by fermented fungi here. Really lovely play by Snarsnick, which is going to force him to fight the Goblin, which is something he really doesn't want to do. So it looks like the Reichsguard have answered his desperate cry. He's going to be trying to rally to him where possible. But yeah, he needs to fall back as the Knights come in, so he can escape and do some more sneaky magics. Volkmar is rolling forth, though, starting to put pressure on the back line. Although it looks like a lot of the Reichsguard and Empire Knights are done for. Pistoliers, though, are kind of cackling and 360 no-scoping some Orc Biggins who are desperately trying to catch up and chase. Looks like the Doom Diver catapult was forced off. Pistoliers have indeed given chase, although they are now being lit up by some Savage Orc Arab boys doing some pretty big damage. Up to 53 kills on these guys is really impressive stuff all round. I really like these Savage Orc Arab boys in general, as they're pretty decent melee combatants as well. Looks like we are going to have a banishment come down on the Night Goblin Fanatics, doing some pretty good damage. You can see blood everywhere as Goblin after Goblin explodes there in fiery fury. But it looks like they are just about going to be able to hold here, as Volkmar does go after the Orc Shaman. Not a bad idea, trying to assassinate the magical element of the Greenskin forces. Haven't seen too many of his spells go down, but I'm sure they've been popped kind of all around the place. Rusty Arrows can now focus down at Volkmar, which would be really useful for that Armor Sundering, allowing Snarsnick to duel him a little bit more effectively. But he's had enough of these characters, and he's simply going to drive through the Rusty Arrows, doing some pretty nice damage to them. In the front line, it looks like the Reichsguard have been pulled back into the frontline engagement to try and aid the Free Company Militia. They've managed to overrun some Orc boys despite the fact Here We Go was popped. And a lot of the Greenskin forces are now starting to break and run for the hills in the front line, but it seems to be a little bit too little too late, as the entire back line harassed kind of collapse, and the balance of power is now very heavily in the Greenskin favour. But despite this, we have more and more Reichsguard charging gloriously once more into the breach to try and shut down these Greenskin horde and help protect the Volkmars. They Need Stabbing has been popped on him, as well as a well-timed fermented fungi, going to rampage him and keep him in the thick of the action where he really doesn't want to be. Coming in with that minus melee defense, double actually minus melee defense, so minus 48 and minus 30. He's not going to be having a good time, and even the low list of Orc Biggin will be able to hit him and do some pretty decent damage all round. Free Company Militia though can support with some fire, which they are doing. Looks like they're trying to focus down at the Orc Shaman for the most point. A ton of rallying Greenskin forces need to get back into the action. Pistol is desperately trying to charge in and finish them off and break them, which they probably could have done if their morale had held, but unfortunately for them, they are going to be running for the fields, and that's going to allow the Savage Orc Arrow Boys to return as well, and they're going to be able to do good, consistent damage on top of Volkmar here. The Rusty Arrows pinning an absolute shift so far, up to nearly 80 kills, decimating the last of these Free Company Militia who have started to run. Looks like the Bright Wizard did manage to escape earlier and can come in with some magical trickery in an attempt to see Volkmar carry the day. And I've seen Volkmar carry quite a few battles in my time, but Snarsnake's going to be pretty good against him, and especially if the Rusty Arrows come in with that armor sundering, I think this may be a challenge a little bit too far for the mighty Volkmar, but he's not given up yet, up to 120 kills pretty much at this point, running over some of the squishy Night Goblin fanatics, doing some good damage to them before simply bouncing between different units. And if he can kill the enemy leadership and get some big tear-outs off, perhaps there is hope yet, but it looks like the Empire forces, even the ones that aren't in combat, are simply starting to waver due to the savagery of the Greenskin assault, and a load of Empire forces as well. They may come back, but I doubt they'll be able to get back to the battlefield before they do indeed break once more. Spearmen trying to hunt down some Orc Biggins here, but I think the Orc Biggins will more than happy to take a charge from the Spearmen, so they can simply turn around and club these guys, these poor men of Sigma, to death there. So, just 7 heads and bloodied corpses isn't a good sight at all for any of the Sigma loyalists here. Volkmar still trying his best. Fermented Fungi has been popped on him, but you can see he hasn't rampaged. That is because fermented fungi, first time you pop it on someone, I believe they have to be below 75% health for it to rampage them, and the next time they've got to be below 50% health, and so on and so on. So it's kind of harder each time to actually rampage a unit, which is a change I really like. That happened ages ago, but thought I would just mention it there for anyone who's still in the unknown. Volkmar is pulling away now from the huge amount of green skins and pushing over, trying his best to hunt down Rusty Arrows and kind of more squishy targets, but I think it's just him against the world pretty much at this point. 79 troops, but most of them are running for the hills. Looks like the Bright Wizard as well has been surrounded and butchered by some Orc boys, so we'll get in here and just check out Volkmar, trying his little best, making his last stand as the Rusty Arrows decide to go into glorious hand-to-hand combat. And some of the Biggins are forced onto the ground, but Snarsnake is indeed standing strong here, screaming his battle cries with his mighty prodder, and then nipping at the heels of these armoured horses as Volkmar kind of looks on in despair. He's just chilling at the moment, not really using his hammer to swing down or anything. I'm sure he's encouraging his mighty steeds to do the dirty work. Looks like they have managed to force off some of the Biggins as well. But Snarsnake is quite happy here to allow Gobblar, to eat any warrior priest he can indeed find. And then simply a horde of more and more Biggins arrive in pretty much a full health unit. Not sure what they've been doing most of the battle, probably chasing down knights and the like. And it looks like down Volkmar goes to a Pyrrhic victory indeed. Very well played to these two absolute champs, Sergeant Spaghetti and Empire Practice. Really fantastic game all round. And one of the big hitters here, I think, was the Doomdiver catapults. Yes, only 24 and 32 kills. Doesn't seem like an insane amount for an artillery piece, but they were pretty much, apart from I think the first salvo, all on knights. And they also drew in a lot of the Empire forces. They had to commit so many troops, Empire Knights and Reichsguard and the like, into that back line, where then they were dealt with by the Biggins and Nasty Skulkers, which was really nice formation and positioning in general from Sergeant Spaghetti, but at the same time, well played to Empire Practice, made a very Pyrrhic game indeed, and did some good pressure in the back line to shut down troops where he could. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. Also feel free to comment, I do read them all and I do reply. I haven't replied in a little while, that's because I've been a little bit busy, and that's because tomorrow, I was about to say transfer embargo, that's completely wrong. The embargo for early access stuff is dropping, so I'm going to be able to show you guys like a load of early access stuff, and that's kind of what I've been doing the last couple of days, playing around with it and the like. And I'm probably going to start, I would think, with a campaign stream. So there's going to be a poll up on my YouTube channel. You can simply go to, I think it's the community tab, and you will be able to vote. It's going to be open to everyone. So that's going to be up when this video does go live. It's probably either going to be Dreicher or the Wood Elf Sisters, I would think. I haven't seen anyone do a Dreicher campaign yet, so that could be the funnest. I don't know. But yeah, basically you guys will get the chance to vote, and then tomorrow at 4 p.m. GMT, which is British time, I will be streaming that. Of course, I'll put a link up on the channel and all of that before then to kind of give you guys a little bit of a reminder. But yeah, until next time, guys, peace, and as always, stay awesome.